Good afternoon, class. Corporate cross-cultural communications class. Um, Welcome back. It is October 28th. I have been told by the university administration that we don't have an official class this week. There's supposed to be 2 weeks for a midterm period. So officially, this is still break time. However, since I am a crazy professor, I'm going to be teaching this stuff whether we have an official class or not. We have the material that is in CTL. Currently, I am showing you one file that is from CTL. If you go into CTL, you can see the CCC Chapter 5, Managing Multicultural Teams. That is here. You can see the different details that we talk about are here. But fortunately, each week, you students have a chance to try to develop your communications and present some of these details yourselves. And fortunately, we have a group of students that have started not only to make your presentation, but they've started to think about getting quiz questions for you guys, because you can get extra points for that. And they have some research articles that they can share and get extra points for that. But they have also thought of one other person, one other detail related to the class. Would the students that are interested in talking about Chapter 5, Managing Multicultural Teams, would you guys like to say anything about your activities, even though today is just an informal chit chat?
Okay, we would just like to briefly talk about it because we're going to have presentation this Friday, and then we're going to have discussion question. As you can see, the PPT files that we have sent. So this is just sharing your opinion, but really there's no specific answer. So I hope you can just prepare for discussion question. And after our presentation, we're going to have a quiz like last week. It's just going to be a simple question. So I think you really don't have to worry. If you just hear our presentation very carefully and really concentrate it, I believe you guys all can solve the questions. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. What about the other key thing? You are regular students, just follow whatever the boring teacher says and you read the textbook and that's it. Better students, better individuals will understand how the textbook relates to real life, and you guys should be using the class to develop your own specialization, your research papers, so that you are considered experts and you can contact companies. So are there any people that wants to talk about how you might be able to contact a company or an organization? During the midterm break period, we should be using the time to develop our own research papers. And so while we have many articles, and we'll be sharing some of those articles, we should be planning to use some of those articles and present it to somebody in a company that you value. For example, if you want to work for Hyundai, find some articles that might be useful for them and share with them those details. That would provide the Hyundai people with expert details that they might not otherwise have access to. You guys have access through the university. And when you're contacting them, you will identify somebody that is more interesting to you, or more interesting to the weekly topic, or more interesting to your research project that you might want to interact with. So, Miss Lee, did you want to say something about that? You had,
Me?
yes, you had found an interesting
Okay.
person you might want to relate to. Why I'm
Yeah.
talking about it is because every other student in class might want to copy you.
Okay. So actually, our presentation topic is about managing diversity in the workforce, and in our if you have saw our PPT at the last part of the presentation, we're going to do a case study about Samsung diversity management. And we found the chief of the diversity and inclusion department at Samsung. And actually, I found her email so that Professor and I are going to invite her. We're going to send her the email politely, whether she can give us whether we can invite her and just ask whatever you guys are curious about. So I'm trying to help you guys the final so I think it might be good if you also have chances to invite the person you want and then share with.
Oops. I heard part of that. Let me just try to share a little bit more with you guys. So what we're actually talking about, in case you didn't hear it, is everybody is studying the same topic, corporate cross-cultural communications. And in the class, in chapter 5, we're talking about how you can manage multicultural teams. And so everybody in our class, everybody in this group today should be trying to learn how you can manage multicultural teams. Our class is a multicultural team. There are many Koreans. I am obviously a Canadian guy. There's Vietnamese people, there's European people, there's several multicultural people in the class. How can you manage those things? I have been exposing you to the North American style, which is open information, decentralized information, which is the opposite of the Korean style. So it might be a little bit crazy for you guys. I've also been trying to explain to you how everybody is equal and we have participative management. And so one of the things that when you look at managing multicultural teams, every student in class has a different interest. You should be telling us, what is your interest in this topic? What are you most interested in doing? For example, the students that are getting ready to present, they have found the actual multicultural diversity director of Samsung, and they've tracked down, they've stalked them, and they found their contact details. And we might be able to introduce them so they can come and actually talk with us in the class. Of course, we can learn from them about multicultural management, but another aspect is if anybody is interested in working with Samsung or having a network with Samsung, having her talk with us now starts developing your guangxi, starts developing your communications with them, which is very strong. Is there anybody in class that is interested in talking with more executives of Samsung? Or is there anybody in class that's interested in specifically talking about somebody that's managing multicultural, cross-cultural communications as a job? Miss Hong Nung Win or everybody in class? Hazel Han, Min Jae Kim, Sung Ju Lee, Suhyun Lee, Eugene Oh, Lee Suhyun, all of you. Is there something, or Hong Min, you too? What do you find interesting about this topic? Nothing, Professor. This topic sucks. Eugene, you're looking so serious. What are you interested in about this topic?
About the managing multicultural teams, this chapter?
Yes, this whole idea of the topic. Do you know how to manage me? Do you know how to manage Ali? Do you know how to manage anybody outside of Korea?
That it is really important that in the multicultural teams that it is essential to how can I say, to know about the specific characters of each cultures, and in the and especially in the company that they need to work for their benefit and they need to collaborate in some way. So I think that managing multicultural teams is like depends on how they know well about and how they know about the specific point of some cultures. Yeah, that's
Great.
my
You did a perfect job of summarizing the chapter. But my question was, what do you care about?
Ah, so
What do you
actually,
find interesting about this? Yes.
in our paper that we also deal with the Google companies that how they manage in the multicultural like yeah this aspect. So I think that in the especially in the company that I think that my interest is that how in the case studies that how some companies or specific companies deal with the differences within the multicultural teams, and I'm interested in some case studies in the real, because I think that that is the future of my life, because I want to work in some like I want to work in some part department in the that to communicate with diverse culture peoples or maybe buyers something. So I think that I'm interested in, so that's my interest.
So your dream is maybe to become the director of diversity management in a company?
Oh no, even though it's not direct, but if I work for the companies, so it is no doubt that I need to communicate with peoples with diverse culture, and I'm Korean, and in some cases that I need to talk with other cultures like Americans or like in other Asia, because so yeah, that is my interest. That I think that is really related to my future job.
So you want to meet somebody that is doing that so they can teach you how to do it. Because, you know, I'm teaching this class, but I'm doing it in a way that shocks the heck out of most Korean students on purpose so you get experience. Maybe you'd like to meet somebody that does it a little nicer. So Soo-Hyun Lee, she actually has identified the director in Samsung that does that job. She manages all of the different people and all of the different cultures within the company. So Bonnie Nam also does that. Bonnie Nam hires people in every different country that Samsung operates and is supposed to manage those people inside Samsung management and all of the suppliers outside Samsung. Bonnie manages that. So you could talk to Bonnie about it. But Soo-Hyun Lee, she has found what's the name of the job that they have, Miss Lee?
I think it was diversity and inclusion department.
Yeah, the director of diversity and inclusion. Um, anyway, that's the name of the job. Um, you may want to join Miss Lee and help prepare her to contact this person in Samsung. We can invite them to class, and you can start developing a relationship with them, and maybe go drinking together and become friends and learn all of the crazy stuff that these foreigners do. So that's what I want to talk about. I don't want, we're not formal today. It's an informal class. Um, I have shown you on the PPT right now, the, this is the textbook, but everybody has the textbook. Thank you very much, Miss Lee, for showing the class, you know, your textbook already. You can see there's various details that are important. What is good inside the company? What is good outside the company? Um, These are the topics we go through. So if you guys have a specific interest in this, or if you have research articles related to this, or if you have companies that you want to contact or individual executives that you want to contact related to this, speak up. Otherwise, we won't know who to include in these details. So managing multicultural teams, as you can see here, the idea of the importance of cultural diversity. Is it important to have diversity? Yes or no? It says here, if you're working with global companies or international companies, obviously it's much, much more important. Domestic companies, you can see it's less important. Here it's talking about the idea of the leveraging the cultural diversity. How can you use cultural diversity? Organizational location of global cross-cultural interaction. Is the interaction inside or is the interaction outside? If it's a domestic company, you're not really doing anything. If it's a multi-domestic firm, then yes, you're talking outside the firm. And the idea of global firms, you need to be expert inside the company, managing staff that are from different cultures, and outside managing customers or partners or suppliers that are obviously from different cultures. So be aware of those details. There's a couple of different key points in here. For example, how can you manage the cultural diversity's impact on a team? Some people will say it's good. Some people will say it's bad. Make sure you understand what's good and bad about it. Soo-Yeon Lee and her team is going to be presenting about the advantages and disadvantages probably later on Friday. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is the end of every chapter. This is just a typical example of the textbook chapter that we go through every week. I have not been showing the textbook directly. If we're in a class, we would have it open and we'd see it on our desks. But this is showing you what the chapter looks like, what we're talking about. And at the end of every chapter, you guys must be aware of at least the summary. That's the summary of the most important thing. And the question for reflection. Why should you care about these final questions? Because every one of you gets 35 marks to write a paper. You get 15 marks for presenting your paper in a grant. You get 5 points in the first week to introduce your topic and list details, share details in the Excel file. In week 7, you also get 5 more marks for sharing updated information about your research or about the company. And it's best if you save all of your research into one Google file folder and share the link with that with the class so everybody else can network together with you. And you also get 20 marks total all term, generally 2 points each week for doing quiz questions or questions from the end of the chapter. So far, students haven't really talked too much about that. So Ali is here. And Ali, would you be able to talk to the students a little bit more about possible questions we might be asking? Of course, Soo-Yeon Lee and your team, if you have questions, you can spit them out now so everybody can cram and get ready to answer those on Friday. If you don't have questions, Ali has some questions and I have some questions. We can tell students what to think about and prepare so you guys get the maximum marks. So Soo-Yeon Lee, did you want to go first and maybe you have teammates? Did you want to get your teammates to say what you think you want to ask people? And Ali has just shared a link in the somewhere. Ali can describe that after you finish talking. Soo-Yeon Lee, can you tell people what types, first of all, introduce your teammate?
Okay, our teammates are me, Soo-Yeon Lee, and Min-Chae Kim. She's also in class right now. And we have 2 group mates. And Professor, I have a question. So about the quiz questions, the Ali and me are going to have quiz, both of us. So students have to solve 2 questions, 2 quiz questions.
I am a big softie. I am going to make it as easy as possible to get good marks. I just care that people learn the details. So by giving questions to people, people are going to start thinking about studying and learning those things. And so I will allow anybody that answers questions to get marks. But if you have questions and I have questions, that makes everybody study, which is good for me, bad for students. But we're only going to be giving marks to whatever's easiest for students. Make sure you know the details. So if your questions are easier than mine, we'll follow your questions. If my questions are easier than yours and still teach details, then we will give students the marks for my questions. But we're trying to get people to understand details from both. So you were saying, was it Haesol Han is your partner, or who is your team partner?
No, Min-Chae Kim.
Min-Chae Kim.
Yep.
Min-Chae Kim, are you available? Are you here? I see a big M, but I don't see.
I'm here.
Okay. Since you haven't talked today, can you tell me what do you think is the most important part of this topic so far? What did you find interesting? Like Eugene O, she doesn't care about the textbook. She doesn't care about the topic, except someday she wants to work with people from many different cultures. So if she can actually work with somebody doing that now, she's going to be happy. And you guys may be able to introduce her to the person in Samsung. What else?
I was interested in 6 ways of managing cultural diverse teams,
Okay,
such as giving a feedback each other will give a positive positive external feedback will give a team more think
by saying good
something.
job, people are more motivated. By saying that sucks, oh my God, why are you wasting my time? That might not motivate people. Correct. Yes. Do you remember where that was when we were talking about the 6 steps? So I believe, is everybody still seeing the PPT? I'm sharing chapter 5, page 126, 127. We're talking about the overall management of multicultural workforce. And then it goes through and it talks about day-to-day basis with multicultural domestic or multiculturalism in multi-domestic, multicultural details in multinational, and multicultural issues in global firms. Can you remind people about some of those 6 steps? Was this the chapter that, was this the image, table 5.1?
I don't remember the exact page number, but I believe it was at the back part.
Okay. Anyway, for everybody in the class, I assume everybody has the textbook. Suyun Lee, where did you get the textbook? Right from the Amazon, or did you get it from Kyobo, or did you get it right from the university bookstore?
I got directly from the university bookstore.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have every page scanned because that would kind of be illegal, but I do have a lot of details. And again, as we are talking in here, this is the summary of the full chapter, and there are some questions here. The very last page is talking about types of multicultural teams, and ways that you can manage the productivity, ways that you can manage the synergy between them, their effectiveness between them, and globally distant teams. Okay. Anybody else? Any other students have questions to discuss here? Ali, can you go ahead and talk about your questions?
Okay. I have just shared with you guys the link. So can you
I will show them on my screen what it looks like here. This is a not official again. Suyun Lee and your partner, you actually will be making the proposal for the quiz questions, but these are possible quiz questions that everybody has. Ali has made this. This is based on our week 9 CCC chapter 5, and possible questions are sorry, not just sorry, Ali, can you go ahead and explain this?
Actually, that we will try to record the informations and some main points that you should remember during for the whole class. So as you can see on the forms that I sent you on the link, I will try to put the questions from the beginning of the class until up to date. Like, for example, the first questions is which are the 4 components of the culture. So explain one component. This is from the chapter 1. Or the second question is fill in the blank. This is quite easy, so you should answer what is the low context or high context culture. Is to rely on elaborate verbal explanations, putting much emphasis on spoken word. And the same as the third questions. And the last questions is about 4 steps to create culture synergy. We also give the figure 4 to 2, so it's easy for you to take the look back from the textbooks to answer the questions. However, like for the first week, it will be easy, but the second week or the third week, the questions will be a little bit more harder. Is harder. So to make sure that you can remember the core content and the core thing from the whole.
It sounds like we might have lost some of the audio. So yes, the idea is we are now in the middle of the semester, and at the beginning of the semester, things are new. So I'm very easy, very generous, giving marks away. As we get closer to the end of the term, you're supposed to be closer and closer to becoming a specialist or an expert in the area. So I'm going to start getting harder. Whoever presents right at the very end, we are going to be quite specific with you. And the quiz questions are easy still now, but they're going to get harder later on. So try to get as many points as you can, as soon as you can in the course. As you can see here, chapter 1, there are 2 very basic questions. Chapter 2, again, 3 very basic questions. Chapter 3, there's more. Everybody should know these basic details. Who do we have in class? Let me start pulling people. How about Hong Win, Miss Win from Vietnam? Can you pick one of these questions that I'm showing on the screen now and answer one of them, or give a comment to one of them? Either what is the answer or where can we find the answers? Miss Win, maybe you're not in class. What about Hong Min?
No, I'm here, Professor. Can you hear me, Professor?
Only if you start saying the answers. I can hear you, but please participate and turn on your screen if you want me to give you points for joining.
I'm still here, but maybe the internet and not work well, so really sorry. Can you hear me again?
Yes.
Oh yes. So for sorry question here, I will choose the question on the week is the 4 component of control and explain one component. Yes, the 4th component of controls is ingredient, item, pieces, and features. I think 4th simply part is that make up a controls, and to explain one of them, I think I will choose the Um, it's kind of difficult. Sorry.
How about I give you a little bit more of a help? Race,
Yes.
Hongmin and Miss Hong together. What are the four components of culture? I think I'm giving you a pretty good hint. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1. Time's up. Too late. I'm going to tell you. Culture is made up of values, attitudes, and behaviors. My value, being a North American person, is time is money. So I'm pushing people, I'm encouraging people to speak quickly, participate actively. And if you do those, I can throw away, give you guys marks. Hongmin, can you repeat what are some of the main things influencing culture?
Values and attitudes and behavior.
Right, and it's a circle. And sometimes this comes from just the people around you. Sometimes it comes from your parents. Sometimes you can have a different culture than your parents. For example, if you are brought up in a different country than when your parents were brought up, or if you were brought up with living online and swiping right with Tinder or whatever, then maybe your culture is very different than your parents' culture. So culture can change over time and change depending on who you're surrounding yourself with. So that is one thing to talk about. Great. What was the next topic that we were talking about? The next question? Let me say, so Minjay, Kim, you're part of the group presenting. So what were the other questions? If you guys remember?
A second question.
Great. What is that? Can you remind the class and we'll talk about it? I'm just going through a review, make sure people understand the details. Do you remember what the first question was or the second question? Anybody? Anybody remember what we were talking about? Quick.
I think it was what was parochialism, SRC, and ethnocentrism.
Good, thank you. So understanding what is parochialism, SRC, and ethnocentrism is incredibly important. And once you become somebody that is supposed to manage multicultural teams, are you supposed to be one of these or are you supposed to be something different? So Yujin O, she wants to work with many people from different cultures. What is worse to Miss O? What is
Pardon?
what would you say about this? What is worse, being parochial, being ethnocentric, or having SRC?
I think that parochial is not a good way to manage about the diverse culture.
Because it's just hard to spell, or because of something?
Oh no, parochial means that that the attitude is not ready to accept that the other culture is different. So I think it is not good.
Uh-oh. Sung Julie, how about you? You're sitting there like a king observing all of your workers. Is Miss O correct? I think I heard Miss O say that parochial is aware of the other styles, but doesn't want to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Something like that. Is that what you heard? Is that what parochial means to you?
Professor, can I say again?
Yes, you can.
The parochial is that they ignore the differences. So I want to say I want to revise my mind. Well, they are like ignore differences and they think that cultural diversity has no impact, isn't it?
Crucify her, Mr. Lee. I'm trying to help you. I'm secretly talking only to Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee, she's describing ethnocentric. Ethnocentric means you know there's other ways, but you don't like them or you don't understand them. Parochial, you don't see anything except your way. You don't know there's any other styles. So can you help understand the details? Maybe my communication styles in Canada suck. Maybe I'm speaking too much French for too many years. Do you understand a little bit more, Mr. Lee?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. I will rely on you to try to give an example or explain SRC, ethnocentrism, and parochialism. Go ahead. Take a long time. Be quiet. It's very polite in Korea, but it drives me nuts in North America. Talk quickly. Make a guess. Don't forget, if Donald Trump can bullshit about anything very quickly all the time, you can too. Take a guess.
Can I answer about it?
No!
Okay.
I'm joking. Of course you can. Everybody can. You should be telling me no.
Parochialism is they believe their way is the best, and ethnocentric is their way is the only way.
Oh, are you sure about that?
Oh no, I should have changed between them.
Yes. Say that again.
Ethnocentric is their way is the best way.
Ethnocentric is what you get after you go to school and you still screw up. So all of my students are still ethnocentric. Me too. It's incredibly hard to get beyond ethnocentric. You get teachings and you learn about other cultures, but you still don't accept them. You still don't think they're normal. You think only what you do is normal. And so in school, in university, we are still bad. And so we are ethnocentric in university. But when you are born, as soon as you pop out of your mom, what are you then? After your mom starts teaching you something and your very first teacher tells you anything, you only know the one thing. That is parochial. As soon as you're born, you're parochial. And so you don't know other people do it differently. You think there's only one way. Eventually, you're going to learn there's crazy other people. They do some things differently. And so you know it's different in the other way, but you don't accept them. That is ethnocentric. It's better than parochial because at least you know there's other ways. But it's still natural for you to do it your way. And so SRC, Hong Min, your turn. Or the second Isuhan in the Korean character's name. What is SRC, or what is your comment about these? Can you explain any? Wake me up when you guys are ready. Quick, 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 quick. Guess! Damn it! Guess! Lee Soo-hyun with the Korean name spelling. Your turn to talk.
About SRC?
About any of this stuff, yes. Now we're seeing this is Korean culture, perfect example. If we're not sure of the 100% perfect details, we don't want to say anything. In our class, I'm teaching you the Donald Trump way. Oh my God. So what is Donald Trump like? Donald Trump, he says anything, even if he knows it's wrong. And he says it quickly. So try to copy him. Guess at a lot of things. Eventually, the more you guess, the more you're going to learn. The more you learn, the better you're going to be. And as other people see you more, the more people see you, usually the more successful you become. If you follow the Korean way, which I love, I'm here, but the Korean way is to stay quiet until everything's perfectly clear, but you're only going to get famous with many, many years going by in Korea. If you want to be successful quickly, if you want to make an impact quickly, you need to start making an impact. You need to start talking. So guess. I will help fix any guesses that are misunderstood. I'm still waiting for Lee Soo-hyun, and I'm still waiting for Hong Min to tell me to be quiet and take a guess. Wow, we're still on the third question. We have many questions to go through.
Can you give a little bit of hint?
Sure. SRC is your self-reliance. So relying on yourself, is that good or bad? Relying on yourself and what you know is a problem in our class. It's a problem in the world. Donald Trump knows things in his head, but the problem is every other person's head knows things differently. And he just keeps saying things, whatever's in his head. So he has SRC problem. He relies only on what is in his head. He relies on his self. And that criteria is criteria for failure. It's criteria for problems. If you only rely on your culture and you don't rely on how other cultures have a different value, you'll have problems. For example, many of you have to do it, all of you have to do a term paper in my class. I encourage you to do a term paper related to a company. When you go talk to the company, you will think it's normal to just ask a question because everybody around you today is just asking questions. So when you talk to this director in Samsung asking any question, you're going to think it's normal. But that director, they don't deal with basic university questions. They deal with million or billion-dollar details. They might think your question is too easy, and so they're not going to give you a lot of respect. That's why I suggest you use journal articles because they're created by world experts. And if you take anything from a world expert and give it to that executive, they're going to see, okay, that's very high level. It's very good. So the executive will give you more respect and listen to you. If you just say, hi, I'm a student from this class, the executive might just hang up on the phone, or they might not answer you at all. So you leverage the experience of other people, so you're closer to the culture of the executive. It's not just different countries. Cross-cultural communication is not between just Korea, China, and Canada. It's between older people and younger people, high-tech people and non-high-tech people. Everybody has their own culture, their own values. You must understand what you think is normal. The other person might not care about. You need to find what is similar. So again, I'm talking too much, trying to save time for Hong Min and you guys to talk about. You are born parochial. You're taught only one way to live. Eventually you go to school, you become ethnocentric, which means you know that there are other ways, but you didn't really experience them yet and you don't really understand them. Your way is still normal. These ways you don't fully appreciate, so they're still strange. So ethnocentric, you still treat the other ways as not important. Your way is the best, but they're both bad. Hitler is ethnocentric. He knows that Germans are one way and Jewish people are different. And so he tries to kill all the Jews. Obviously, you don't want to be ethnocentric. You must invest in getting away from your own value, get away from relying on only what you know, get away from the criteria of yourself and try to appreciate the value of the other culture. That's the global synergy. So you start parochial, you become ethnocentric, you slowly realize that we all have self-reliance issues, what we think is normal, and we have to get past that into the mind of the other person to get globally synergistic. And so Jeon Kim is I believe, the director of diversity and inclusion in Samsung. Maybe we might be able to bring her into the class and she can talk about all of these things. Right, Min-jae Kim and Miss Hong and everybody else? Any other questions about that before we go on to a different view? We have talked about Hofstede. We've talked about the basics of parochial ethnocentrism, SRC, and now we understand, other than Hofstede, Edward T. Hall is another famous guy. He tried to teach people it doesn't have to do with countries. There are some people that have different cultures, even inside the same country. Some people use a lot of words. Some people use just a few words when they talk. Like some of you, right, Mr. Lee and Hong Min and Lee Soo-hyun, you use only one or two words, and I use many, many, many. So you are relying on a high amount of context or a high amount of information from other people and other details. So you are high context culture. I am low context. I don't care what other people are saying. I don't really care what's going around in the environment. I make sure each individual detail is understood. So I use words to explain every small detail. I am from a low context culture. Other people are from a high context culture. If they only need one word from their tongue, but they use a lot of meaning from around them, from the environment, from high context around you. This is supposed to be fun. Doesn't seem like too much fun to me. So I'm going to move on to the next one. You understand Hofstede's 4 cultural dimensions. We understand the idea of communicating across cultures. And I'll just show you the idea for that question. Anybody know how to communicate across cultures? What are the steps to do that? I believe it's figure, where is it here? Is this the one that we were focusing on? So one of the questions is, what do I do if they do not speak my language? And so page 90 in the textbook talks about this. If they, what do you do if they do not speak your language? I'll blow this up, make this a little bit bigger. So you need to have good verbal behavior, clear, slow speech. You need to repeat things. And in class, I was trying to teach you ESL. What does ESL stand for? Anybody? What does my ESL stand for? Anybody? You guys are killing me. ESL stands for English on a Second Line. Most people use it as English as a second language, but not in cross-cultural communication. Cross-cultural communication means you need to repeat the details, repeat the idea using different words. And that's what it's saying here. So speak slowly, speak clearly, of course, that's number one, but repeat details, repeat each important idea using different words to explain the same concept. That's how I came up with the ESL. Speak English on a second line. Whatever you're trying to say it again a second time using different words. If they don't understand you the first time you say it, maybe the second time you say it, they will understand. So that is the idea of what you can do if they do not speak your language. Another example is use simple sentences. Another example, use active verbs, easier to understand. Avoid confusing verbs like passive verbs. Next, you need to get into nonverbal behavior. The whole idea of using your face. I'm not looking at the details right now. Let me I'm trying to look at your faces. So Hazel Han and Min Jae Kim, many of you, some of you are looking for I think Hong Min, he's asleep. So his facial expression, is it the same as, oh, no, don't change, you're not allowed to smile. Is it the same as my face? Whose face is using more non-verbal behavior in class? Your face, actually, your visual representation, your gestures, how you demonstrate things with your face, whether it's like or oh, all of this stuff helps convey the meaning. And in Korea, even if I say a joke, you're supposed to be, oh, you're not supposed to smile. That makes it normal in Korea, and it's polite in Korea, but your natural ability in Korea will confuse the heck out of people in other cultures. Using your facial expressions, using your body language. I'm not talking about dancing on tables. I'm talking about just your eyes wide open, your mouth wide open, or the wrinkles, all of that, and your hands help convince people of what you're trying to say. So if they don't speak your language, what do you need to do? We've just listed many details, many different examples. Who is somebody, can anybody in class go through and give me an example of what can you do if somebody does not speak my language? Anybody in class?
Maybe body language.
Great, use body language. Thank you. I don't know who said that, but great. Next, what else can you do?
Using translator?
Yes, using a translator. Where is that here? That's is that down here? Checking comprehension, understanding. Which one is translator? You can use that, and it should be in here. Check comprehension. Okay, so this area, can you guys see I'm highlighting it now?
Yes.
So that is talking about checking the comprehension. Having a translator would definitely help. And the next, oops, didn't want to do that. Over up closer to the top. Make sure you do use the slow, clear speech. Good. What else? What can you do if they do not speak your language? Let me tell you this. Don't listen to this one. Delete this from the textbook. Get rid of this. It's okay in Korea. If you're talking to a Korean person, maybe a Chinese, or definitely to a Japanese person, it's very good. But when you're talking to somebody from a faster paced culture, when you're talking to somebody from Europe or North America, silence can be considered very rude. So if you're too silent, even though it's okay in Korea, it's rude outside of Korean when you're talking to people that are not Korean. So, Miss Hong, can you read this one?
Yes. Silent when the other person is silent. Wait, do not jump into feeling silent. The other person is probably just thinking more slowly in the non-native language. Translating or greater use of silence may be a control norm.
Great. Does anybody know of a culture where a greater use of silence is a cultural norm?
Japan?
Yes, thank you. Hongmin, finally you come to rescue me. In Japan, no matter what the name card is, if you guys can see me, if somebody gives you a name card, you're supposed to take it and you're supposed to look at it for a crazy long time. Some people say 30 seconds or a minute. You're supposed to look at it and go, oh, yeah, oh, nice. Even if you don't care about name cards. That silence is considered a sign of respect in Japan. You are trying to appreciate their details or how they've even designed the contract, how they've designed the name card. So in North America, they just take it, they put it in their pocket, they don't really care. It could be rude. So I'm showing you this textbook is giving you something to think about, but at the same time, the textbook is wrong. So some people use silence, some people don't. You need to identify what is important to that important person, whoever you're communicating with, and do they appreciate silence? If they're from Japan, you need to use a lot of silence. But it's not only silence, it's you're supposed to be showing them respect, like you're studying who they are or you're studying their background. Great. So this is just an example. Any questions about this before we talk about the other possible questions? Going once, going twice. So back into these questions, there are a few other, where is it here? Yes. So from text chapter 3, page 90, we'll talk about what you should do if somebody doesn't speak your language. And we just finished going through that. And as we saw there, you should focus on verbal behavior is the first thing that we're talking about, or the idea of nonverbal behavior. The idea of accurate interpretation is important. The idea of comprehension is important. How you design your communications and how people are motivated in different cultures. All of those relate to what you do if somebody doesn't speak your language. How can you get over that? Chapter 4, the idea of creating cultural synergy. As we said, people are born knowing only one way. They get educated and they think they're very good as soon as they know about another way, but they forget that you have been doing it your way 20, 30 years, and the other person's way, you just saw it, you don't understand it, so you think it's wrong, it's not developed. It's a big problem when you realize you might be from a rich, developed country, and the other people might be from a country that's not as rich or not as developed. So you automatically think, oh, they just don't know better. Well, that is absolutely wrong. It's used by billion people in India and they're not developed. It's used by a billion people in China and they may not be as developed. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means that you don't understand the advantages of the other way. So make sure you understand. To understand the benefits of the other culture, you must invest in trying to understand why they do it that way. And so you must invest in trying to create some sort of cultural synergy. And so that's where we go through textbook chapter 4, figure 4.2. These name the steps to create synergy. And that is in here. Ways to create cultural synergy. So 4.2, here's 4.1, 4.1 again. This is one part. Where is it here? This is the very important table. Hopefully you guys can all see this. This is showing you the ways to create cultural synergy. You need to know these different steps. And so step 1 is describe the situation. Step 2, interpret the cultures. Show what you understand and the other person understands may be different. Step 3 is increasing the cultural creativity. Try to find new solutions from each new member or each person from a different culture. And then the last part is create a cultural synergy. What is something that you all agree can help you all? So this chart is very, very valuable. When you go talk to the director of diversity and inclusion in Samsung, we should be thinking about this all the time. Maybe people don't follow this because they don't know about it, they don't understand it. And so we can ask people, if you're Korean and you're dealing with somebody from a different, strange culture you've never been to, how do you try to identify their advantages? And this is the way. Describe the situation, determine the assumptions. You assume the other person realizes things for a certain way. Assess the cultural overlaps. What is similar between what you think and what's similar between what they think? And then you have to focus on what is most important in that overlap and select the best alternative to promote going forward. And the more you have, the more you should be able to see other people see things differently. So you should be able to see many, many new creative ways of doing things. And usually with global businesses, that's a good thing. Can you guys all see this chart? This chart is in the textbook, obviously. It's also in the PPT that we're teaching going forward. This is a quiz question. So I'm going to basically stop talking now. You've already seen what typical examples of quiz questions are. I'm only going to let you guys continue if you want. If you want me to answer your questions, if you have an article to share, if you have a PPT to share, if you have questions to share, if you're interested in contacting a company and you want me to help you improve the communications so that they will give you more respect, please do that. Please ask me questions. Otherwise, bye. Hey, Sohan, you love me,
Yes.
right? You have lots of questions for me? Anything you want me to help you with?
Yes.
But you don't know what you want me to help you with? What about the grant? How are you doing with your grant?
We are finding about some information for grant.
Great, that doesn't tell me
We
anything.
are trying to contact, but I think we have some difficult to contact with people.
Good. Well, since we're talking about grants, I think you guys may be misunderstanding the class project. For the grant, you do not, in our class, you don't have to contact anybody except me. I do not want to give you work to do a grant. I just want you to understand that a grant can be very valuable to help your career. So you don't need to contact anybody about a grant, but if you do, it should help a lot. It's not a class requirement. Does that make sense, Mr. Lee? Sunju Lee? No, you weren't listening. Professor is boring. I was just playing TikTok video games or something like that.
I was listening.
What are you doing for your grant, Mr. Lee? Nothing. That's okay. What is the value of a grant? Why should you care about a grant? Any of you?
Because it is possible to get some support from the company, isn't it? And getting some informations more easily and effectively.
You guys all want to get some job working with some company. Great. Let's say it's company X. You want to work with them. And you know that places like Microsoft is like a multi-trillion-dollar company. Microsoft and Bill Gates, they have to give away billions of dollars in grants all the time. So Microsoft is giving money away to any students just to look nice, look like they care. You can use that millions of dollars and hire experts to go develop details to help company X. And it's free money. They just give it to anything that professors and students are studying to learn more. And you can learn more, maybe learn from Microsoft or learn from anybody you want. And you can use that money to hire people to help them. In our class, you do not need to send in the grant. You don't need to submit the grant to anybody except me. Just tell me what you found out about a grant and how you might be able to use that grant. That's it. You don't actually have to press send or phone somebody and talk about it. But if you do, you should get a lot of benefit. Thank you for that. Lee Soo-hyun or Ms. Hong, you guys have any other questions? Or are you ready to turn off the Zoom and start going back to sleep?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hong.
I don't
How
have
are you
any
doing with your grant,
questions.
Ms. Hong?
Pardon?
How are you doing with your grant? Do you have any questions? Can I help you develop your grant or find grant info?
I think not not yet, but if we have any research that we have to find, I will send you the email.
So as soon as you realize you have homework, then you're going to send me the homework for me to do. Okay, we'll try to help. Anybody else? Lee Soo-hyun, at the top, you had your presentation on Friday. Is there anything else I can help you guys with?
I think no. I think that I asked everything today. That's all.
Okay. As always, I will be here to help you do your homework. And I'll be here to try to give marks to you guys. I want to help you guys develop. So feel free to contact me anytime. Today was not an official class. Even Friday, I believe, is also not an official class. The university administration, they told me you guys have 2 weeks for midterm. So even though Soo-hyun is going to be talking on Friday, you don't need to come. But if you do come, you can get more marks, easier marks. If you don't come on Friday, you just need to try that much harder the following week to catch up and get more marks. Ali, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
I don't think that for the questions today, I will update and send again, and you have time to answer that. So it's the deadline will be at the end of this week. Yeah.
Good.
I have a question to Ali.
Okay.
So about the link that Ali provided us today through the chat box, I already answered the Google Drive, this Google form. So is it going to be the same question that she's going to upload later, or another question?
If you answer questions and you answer questions well, I'll give you those points. The due date for answering this is not yet, but I also teach you should not wait for the due date. The sooner you try something, the sooner you may get benefit. So as whenever you want to answer this, I'll give you points. And the normal points should be 2 points every time you answer these chapter questions. If you go through 3 different chapters and you answer them all, that should be 6 points. If you make a mistake, then the next time we talk about things, you can get more points that other time. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Again, my whole point is I'm trying to teach you that the normal way you've been doing things in Korea is it's fine, it's okay, but it's only okay in Korea. To try to work internationally, you should be getting used to having crazy amounts of information, get used to having equal amounts of power with the teacher, get used to arguing for points, get used to promoting yourself. And after you do something that might be of value, just say, okay, I did this, I deserve these marks. And you should get them. It's my job as a professor, no matter what you do, after you are a little bit confident, it's my job to argue with you. It's my job to tell you, whatever you did, you can do it better. And so I should say you don't deserve that many marks unless you do it better. It's your job to argue with me and say, no, I did it good. You said this, I should get these points. So now it's Mr. Lee's job to get points for getting me to shut the hell up. It's not even official class today. Turn this Zoom off. Is there something I can help you with, Seungju?
No, I'll ask questions later if I have more. Thank you.
I have stopped our class recording.